Okay, so we created a function to write data, and now we are calling the function within our script to write some results back into the sheet. So this is our function, data writing cell. This is our function. So we are calling the function, and we have to specify the sheet path and the sheet name, row number, column number. So we specify the sheet path in here, then we specify the sheet name, and then the row number that we are trying to write, right? That we're trying to write to is row number 1, which is a test name, and then the column number is 1. Row number 1, column number 1, okay? So we are trying to write into this particular sheet, and we'll say, then we have to also pass the data that we want to write back. So we want to write something. So row number 1, column number 1, row number 1 is the test name. So we want to write the test name into that row and that column. So we have to specify what exactly we want to write. So in this case, our test name is data-driven01. Data-driven01. This is our test name, our script name. So instead of writing back in a quotation, we could write back data-driven01. Okay, then we close the bracket. Instead of doing that, I can also use some environment variables in QTP. So if you go to settings, in settings, you'll probably remember that when we tried to create some environment variables, there are some user-defined environment variables that we can create. But there are also some built-in variables that you can use. So QTP provides some built-in variables like the action name, the operating system, and all of those. So there is another variable called test name. The test name variable is the name of the test. So this will give us the name of the test. So instead of writing this, we will call that environment variable, okay? So we'll say, let's put it as a variable called test name. So test name is equal to environment dot value, and we'll put test name. So this is the environment variable that we're calling, correct? How do I know that? Because if I go to settings, environment, and if I scroll down, I'll see this, test name. There is no space, it's just test name, okay? So I'm basically calling that variable, and I'm putting the value of the variable within this variable called test name, okay? So a variable within a variable. And so whatever the test name is, I want to write that data. I want to pass that value into our function. So it will write the test name back into the Excel sheet, okay? Now, I also want to write in the second column, so here I'm expecting to write the test name, and here I want to write a result into the second column, column number 2, row number 2. All right? So we have to do the same thing. We have to call the function again. Okay? So if error number is not equal to 0, then we'll try to write all this. But instead of the test name, this time we'll do the fail result into the result column of the Excel sheet. So row number is 2 and column number is 2. Okay? All right. Now we also want to write into the third column, which is the error column. So if there is any error, so if we call the function again and there are any errors, then we'll say that that sheet will open that Excel file, go to that sheet, and in the third column, in the third row, which is the error row, just write the error description. So write err.description. Okay? Now, if error number is not equal to 0, then do all of these things. Else, that means the error number is equal to 0. Then in the test pass, then the test passed. So we'll call this function again. And this time, in the second row, in row number 2, this time we'll write pass. Okay? So we are writing, if there is no error, we'll write a pass value. If there is an error, we'll write a fail and the error description. Back into the Excel. Okay. So let's try to execute this and see what we get. So we do have an error within the script. So we cannot actually use these brackets because it's a subfunction, not a function. So let's remove the brackets. If we put this in a variable, then we can use a bracket. In that case, it becomes a function returning value. Okay? So let's remove all the brackets. So the difference between a function and a subfunction is that a function returns value, and a subfunction, functions do not return value. So when you call something function, you cannot use a bracket. So let's save it and run it and see what happens. Opens a browser, navigates to calculator.net, enters 300,000, 10 years, calculate. It did calculate. Okay. Yep. Here we can see that there was no error within the script, so the monthly payment did not match though, because the expected monthly payment that we have is the expected monthly payment is definitely not what it should be. It is incorrect. So the monthly payment will not match, and that's fine. Okay? But make sure to figure out the exact monthly payment for this input data, and we'll try to match that in the future. Okay? And we'll match according to that. But for right now, let's figure it out. So before we close the browser, let me put a breakpoint in here. Let's close this sheet, and let's run the script. So it puts 300,000, 10 years, and 5%. And clicks on calculate. So at this point, we'll stop the recording because I want to know how much the monthly payment is. Let me get this and put this as the expected value, the expected monthly payment. Because QTP will check for the expected monthly payment. So for 300,000, 10 years, and so if we're putting 5%, then just put that there. Yes. Let's check which column exactly that we are trying to read for the monthly payment. So we're trying to read row number 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Row number 3. Okay, so let's put the correct monthly payment. So for expected monthly payment, we'll tell QTP to read the monthly payment in row number 2, right? Why row number 2? Because based on the input data, based on 300,000, 10 years, 5%, the monthly payment that we expect is $3,181.97. So how do we know the expected value? Your test case will say that. As a tester, you don't have to imagine the expected result. You don't have to figure out the expected result. You'll be given the expected results. That 1 plus 1 equals 2. So you expect the value 2, right? So you'll be given or told the expected end result. So you'll be told that 1 plus 1 is supposed to be 2, and can you test that 1 plus 1 is 2? That's what you'll be told. So you'll be testing for the expected value. So that's why I put the expected value in my sheet, and I'm telling QTP to indeed test for that monthly payment. So if that expected value matches with the input data, then basically print pass, otherwise print fail. For now, I'm not calling the functions for this monthly payment expected value. I'm not telling it this value. So we ran this script, and it actually did call these functions for writing back the results. So let's check if the script wrote any results or not. So if we reopen the Excel sheet, and if we look at the results sheet, so as we can see, it did write the pass result because there was no error within the script. There was no error because QTP was able to find this web edit, entered the data, clicked on calculate, and it captured the result. There was no error within the script. So it did write a pass result into a pass in the result column. But we can see that it did not write the test name, right? It did not write the test name within the test name column. So in the next video, we'll see why.